Well,
let's fight about the Abraham Accords.
You don't like the Abraham Accords?
No, not at all.
Why not?
Well, first of all, they're not any kind of peace deal.
They're economic deals.
The UAE and Bahrain and Sudan and Morocco, none of them were at war with Israel. UAE and Sudan declared war on Israel in 1967, but didn't send any troops. So these aren't really peace deals. What these are is sell out the Palestinians on the American taxpayers' dime deals.
But weren't you saying before that the trade deals with China would be beneficial and help keep things simmered down and prevent conflict?
Sure, except there's just hasn't been any conflict to prevent between Morocco and Israel.
It's not
and
just
so
that.
What's happened is
it's planes flying over Israel and flying over these countries to and from. I mean, it's normalizing economics. It's like the first step towards stabilizing the region.
Yeah, but you had to buy a bunch of F-35s for the UAE in order to get them to do it. And the real purpose of it is not generating peace. And these guys have all been working together with the Israelis all along anyway, unofficially. What it really is they're selling out the Palestinians. Because the deal had always been that these Arab states would not normalize relations with Israel until they gave the Palestinians an independent state or equal rights within Israel. And they didn't do that. And then what happened was Jared Kushner went over there and said, "What's your price? I have the American people's money in my pocket. I can spend as much of it as I want. So what will it cost, Tim, for you to sell out the Palestinians?" And they said, well, we'll take some F-35s and we'll take some more of your tax money and whatever.
Why should I care about Palestine?
Well, Mohammed Atta crashed Flight 11 into the North Tower as revenge for what the Israelis were doing in Palestine and in Lebanon.
So it's actually an argument.
Damn terror war off.
It's an argument for us to not be involved.
It's an argument for us absolutely to not be involved. But the thing is, we are involved. The U.S. backs everything that the Israelis do, and always have.
I mentioned this when Cassandra came on the show. Cassandra Fairbanks. She's very anti-war, and she was like, "You're going to hear a lot of propaganda about why China's doing this, that, or otherwise, and we should not go to war. It's none of our business." And I'm like, I don't really have an argument for that. It's like, are we going to get involved in every single conflict? So for me, it's like, what can we do to remove ourselves from these situations to a greater degree? Yeah. As soon as Biden gets in, the funding for both sides to various degrees resumes and conflict lights back up, and that's good for imperialism for the United States. It's an excuse now to put more military into the Middle East. Oh no, it's destabilizing. Oh, there's war and conflict. Instead, we should just be like, sure, maybe it cost money, maybe we provided weapons and stuff. I don't know the answers, man. I just know under Trump, we were closer to getting out of these wars, no new wars, and Trump actually trying to pull troops out. And it was the establishment cronies lying to the American people about the troops in Syria and trying to stop this from happening. Right. So I look at it like trade normalization, peace deals, recognition of Israel. The less conflict, the better, and get our troops out and be done with it.
I think you're conflating separate things together. Him trying to get out of Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan is one thing. His Israel policy was absolutely horrible and made everything that much worse. He recognized Israel's absolutely illegal seizure of the Golan Heights and their illegal annexation of it in 1981 and said, just on a whim, I recognize it officially now, it's fine. Then he moved the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is an important symbolic move, meaning that America now recognizes all of Jerusalem as a single unified city under Jewish control, when the law says that East Jerusalem is illegally occupied by the Israelis. And Trump just said, well, screw that. And what that did was it negated even the possibility of there being an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. And it also raises the very important question of whether Jewish extremists are going to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque and rebuild the Third Temple and start sacrificing animals and start World War III.
I think Trump didn't care at all about any of it.
Well, he cared about Sheldon Adelson giving him money for the Republican Party. But Sheldon Adelson gave him what? Like $50 million? That's chump change to Donald Trump. He could have paid for his own entire reelection and the entire Republican Party's reelection and told Sheldon Adelson to go to hell. He said it was a mistake for him to hire John Bolton.
Oh, yeah.
John Bolton called him from Sheldon Adelson's office in Las Vegas and said, guess where I am right now? I want a job. And Trump gave him the job.
That's right.
He should have told him to go to hell.
Absolutely.
Who's Sheldon Adelson?
Well, he's dead now, thank goodness, but he was an extremely important mega donor and hardcore Zionist in America. He said his only regret was that he joined the U.S. Army instead of the IDF. He said he's the one who publicly said that Obama should drop a nuke outside of Tehran as a warning, and if they don't obey after that, he ought to nuke the capital city. And that guy's a total nut.
And John Bolton was the guy who said, this time next year we'll be celebrating in Tehran. So the dude wanted to just invade, and people don't understand. You can't. Iran is not some tiny, country. People don't understand the geographics. But I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything about all of these conflicts.
Well, take a look at what they did with Morocco for this Abraham Accord. As they call them all the Abraham Accords. I think it's originally only Bahrain and UAE, but then lump in Sudan and Morocco. Well, Morocco has been illegal occupying the northern part of Western Sahara for like 20 years. And Trump went, go ahead, you can have it. Right. So this is the liberal,
but hold on,
rules-based world order that America is supposedly enforcing. But the rules don't apply to us. They don't apply to our friends. We can do whatever we want. The Israelis are in violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention by transferring their civilian population into occupied territory. Oh well, what's the Geneva Convention?
So this is the problem. Then should the United States just said, we're done with all of it, we're out, bye-bye,
yes,
have a nice day.
Absolutely.
And it seems
sorry for backing these criminals against these helpless civilians, this population that has been occupied for 54 years, longer than the Soviets occupied
and
Eastern
Trump
Europe.
Doesn't care about those other countries.
That's right.
So there's no going to Trump and being like, all he cares about is America. All he wants is the border secured and factories back in America to make America great. And so when you say, but these people, I don't know or care about any of that. Right. Sign the deal, get it done, and get us out of there. We're out of it. No new wars. Trying to withdraw our troops, and they lied to keep them in place.
True, but he also deliberately escalated the war in Afghanistan. He deliberately escalated the war in Syria until they finished Iraq War III against the Islamic State there, but escalated escalated the war in Somalia. And he took wherever there's the war in Yemen and the war in Somalia, he made official areas of active hostilities, which under the law means that now the military and the CIA can kill far more people than in more restrictive circumstances where it's covert action only.
Increase in drone strikes.
Right. Massive increase in airstrikes, drones and planes in Afghanistan and Somalia and Yemen. And he delegated the battlefield authority for the right to call in a strike as far down the chain of command as he possibly could. It's because when he came in, there are all these check boxes that Obama and his lawyers had added, and they killed tens of thousands of people with their drone war. But they had added all these bureaucratic check boxes. But Trump was raised on the myth of Vietnam, and H.W. Bush talked about this during Iraq War I as well. This was, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this was a big deal when I was growing up, that Lyndon Johnson tied the hands of the generals behind their back, nitpicking and poring over the map in the White House and picking the targets himself and controlling the policy. And if he hadn't done that, then the generals would have just done the right thing. So Trump said, that's never going to happen to me. No one is ever going to say that I didn't let the military have carte blanche to do whatever they think is right in whatever area. And so when he came in, he said, I want out of Afghanistan. This is in March of 2017. And when they were doing a review and trying to get him to push to escalate. And he said, I hereby order all American troops out of Afghanistan and out of South Korea. This is in the newest Bob Woodward book, Rage.
Trump said this.
in 3 months into power, 2 months into power. And James Mattis, the Secretary of Defense that he hired, said, belay that order. We're not leaving Afghanistan, and we're not leaving Korea, and I don't give a damn what the president said. And then it was 3 months later, Trump announced he was sending another 10,000 men to Afghanistan and massively escalating the air war.
Absolutely was one of the biggest problems with Trump, is that he hired a bunch of morons and didn't fire the other morons. John Bolton, obviously, and yes, I think the problem was, clearly, it sounds like Trump just said, I want out, the American people want out. But he was surrounded by people that he should not have trusted.
And he gave them power.
Including Bannon, right? Including his own people, right? He obviously could not trust McMaster and Mattis, but he couldn't trust Bannon either. And this is I forget if this is in Fire and Fury or Fear by Woodward, one or the other of those.
I don't necessarily trust the guy, but...
Well, no, but it's horse's mouth stuff. So it's like when Mattis tells Woodward, and that's when I said, don't do what the president said. You can pretty much believe that. You know what I mean?
Is that treason?
And well, certainly it's criminal insubordination. I don't know exactly which law in the military code of uniform
Trump hired
justice.
Too many morons,
but see, Bannon made the deal. Bannon made the deal with Mattis that, listen, we'll shut up about Afghanistan if you guys promise to get worse on China. And then Mattis goes, well, sure, we wanted to build up against China anyway. And in exchange for that, you're going to shut up about Afghanistan? Deal. So it was Bannon that sold out Trump on Afghanistan just 3 months into the thing. And then they got rid of him by, July? And then in August, they announced the big escalation.
Yeah.
And then, there's a story in the Post. This also comes from Mattis, straight out of the horse's mouth, that in the Washington Post, that Trump complained, why are we in Somalia? I don't even want to be in Somalia. Where is Somalia? What are we doing in Somalia? And James Mattis told this ridiculous lie that, we're trying to prevent a Times Square attack. Well, the Times Square attack of 2010 was direct retaliation for the drone war in Pakistan. Had nothing to do with a Somali, and drone strikes didn't prevent it. Drone strikes caused it. Okay, but wait, it gets better. And then Trump said, no, but I don't care. I don't want to be there. I don't understand why we have to be there. And Mattis told Trump, quote, you have no choice. And then what did Trump do? He obeyed the Secretary of Defense. Instead of saying, actually, I do have the choice. You're the one who doesn't have a choice, Mr. Secretary. He said, okay, fine, escalate the war. What do I care if they kill another couple of 10,000 Somalis?
Trump should have, for one, fired a lot of morons, not hired a lot of morons, and he should have just done. Why didn't he just go on public TV and say, this is the plan, we're doing it?
Look, I mean, the truth is, it's because he doesn't read. He doesn't know anything. Right? If he knew anything at all, Tim, he would have gone to Cato and he would have gone to the national interest. And he would have said, I want all of the most credentialed anti-war right-wingers that you guys can line up for me. Let's do this.
Think about how close we were. Honestly, if Trump in the first 3 months says, out, 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 but he was too busy surrounding himself by bad people and special interests.
And he was too busy complaining about his crowd size at his inauguration and every other stupid thing that didn't matter at all.
And selling weapons to Saudi Arabia to fund the Yemen genocide, basically.
Yeah, we'll get to Yemen in a minute. But, I mean, when he came in, Bannon said, here's our deal, okay? We want to end all the free trade agreements. We want to halt immigration from Mexico. And we want to end all the wars. Well, guess what? Trump has total power over one of those issues. The wars, right? And that's all he had to do was say, I really mean this. I'm really sticking with this. We are ending these wars. And if he'd done that, it also would have been absolutely brilliant politics. Throwing a nuclear hand grenade into the Democratic Party and making the liberals attack him from the right for ending wars and convincing the leftists that they never hated liberals so much.
They did that.
Right?
The media absolutely did that. They were claiming that Trump was, leaving was irresponsible and it was a gift to these dictators and to ISIS. And clearly trying to negotiate peace was just him appeasing dictators and all that stuff.
Appeasing Putin. That was, you know what? I love this one. You can check this in the Washington Post, everybody. Go check in the Washington Post, everybody. In June, it was June or July of 2017, Trump ordered an end to the CIA program backing the Al-Qaeda terrorists, the Al-Nusra Front, a.k.a. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham in Syria. And the Washington Post headline reads, in move sure to please Vladimir Putin, Trump orders end of covert action program in Syria. So they accuse him of treason for stopping a program of arming Al-Qaeda terrorists, suicide bomber, head chopper, murderers.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.